Marcus and I had been married for 7 years, and for all 7, he had kept a mistress. After I became pregnant, he severed ties with his mistress completely and returned to our family life. He cooked for me and accompanied me to every prenatal appointment. But the day his mistress married someone else, he was utterly distraught and publicly crashed the wedding to reclaim her. They embraced tightly, their faces alight with the joy of reunion. I gave a self-deprecating smile and went to the hospital for an abortion the next day. When arrived in a panic, I had already undergone the procedure and handed him the divorce papers. His eyes reddened instantly, and he whimpered, "Grace, are you giving up on the baby, and on me too?" I closed my eyes and said softly, "Marcus, it's been 7 years. I should have given up on you long ago. Are you certain you really don't want this baby?" As the doctor confirmed one last time if I was truly going through with the abortion, my phone screen lit up. It was a text message from Marcus. "Honey, my business trip ended early. I'll be home tonight. Are you still throwing up a lot while I've been away these past few days?" Every word conveyed Marcus's concern for me, his anticipation for the baby in my womb. After I got pregnant, I suffered from morning sickness and had a poor appetite, so he personally cooked for me. 3 meals a day, without fail. He accompanied me to every prenatal checkup, saying he wanted to be involved in the baby's growth. He seemed like a good husband, a great father-to-be. But who could have imagined that a man like him would crash a wedding? That he would tightly embrace another man's bride and vow never to leave her again? At that moment, did he even think of me? Did he think of his unborn child? The screen kept lighting up. I flipped my phone over, no longer looking at it. Taking a deep breath, I told the doctor, "Yes, I don't want this baby anymore." The doctor told me to come in for admission tomorrow. Out for the abortion, so I went home first. As I opened the door and slipped into my slippers, I was enveloped in a warm embrace. "Honey." Marcus's deep, magnetic voice sounded from above my head. "It's only been 5 days, but I missed you so much. Did you and the baby miss me too?" Before I could speak, he stroked my cheek and kissed me. My body stiffened, and I instinctively struggled. The embrace I once missed so dearly, the kisses I could never get enough of, now I felt a strange resistance. As if sensing my distraction, Marcus seemed displeased. He tightened his grip around my waist, deepening the kiss. It was at that moment that his clean, cold pine scent, mixed with a hint of sweet pear, wafted over me. It instantly reminded me of how he had tightly embraced Willow and gently kissed her with such affection yesterday after crashing the wedding. Her face had been alight with the joy of reunion. "Willow," he had said, "I almost lost you." He had also said, "We'll never be apart again, we'll be together forever." In his arms, Willow, the mistress he had kept for 7 years of our marriage, the one he had broken up with and then reconciled with, was crying with a tear-streaked face, continuously hitting his back. She had complained, "Why did you only come now? I was so close, just a hair's breadth from marrying someone else." They embraced and kissed in the rain, just like the protagonists in a novel. The uninformed onlookers around them took photos, thinking the handsome man and beautiful woman were incredibly romantic. And I, Marcus's wife, stood like an outsider in a dark corner, secretly watching their happiness. The thought of Marcus's embrace, which had held someone else yesterday and now held me, made my stomach churn. I bent over and dry heaved. Marcus quickly steadied me, asking with concern, "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said, pushing his hand away and forcing a smile. "Marcus, didn't you say there was a good steakhouse? I'm craving steak." Marcus immediately smiled, gently running his hand through my hair. "Okay, anything for you." The steakhouse Marcus mentioned was near University Park. He found a window seat and, with practiced ease, ordered 2 steaks. A well-done one for me, and a medium-rare one for him. When the steaks arrived, he meticulously cut mine into small pieces, removing the tough gristle. "Grace, you can't eat raw food while pregnant." The server, who was delivering dishes nearby, looked on with envy. "Ma'am, your husband is so good to you. How thoughtful." I smiled, saying nothing, just looking at Marcus across from me. I remembered he never ate beef, especially not raw or rare meat. Once, my best friend Melanie, who was studying in Japan, sent me a bluefin tuna so I could make him sashimi. He wouldn't even look at it, just threw it away, coldly saying, "Grace, I don't eat raw food. We've been married for so many years, can't you even remember that?" Now, he was eating it without blinking, piece by piece. The half-worn decor of the restaurant and the dim lighting clashed starkly with him in his tailored suit. Having dated him for 3 years and been married for 7, I knew exactly what kind of person he was: dignified, aloof. He would never frequent a hole-in-the-wall diner like this. The only explanation was Willow, the little bird he kept outside. Steak was Willow's favorite food. This restaurant was also where he often brought Willow. For her, he had learned to cook, learned to be considerate. Every change he made was for another woman. If I hadn't gotten pregnant, would he have truly broken up with Willow? Would he have returned to our family? I thought it was highly unlikely. My throat tightened, and a dense ache spread across my chest. Just then, Marcus's phone screen lit up. He immediately swiped it open, and a few seconds later, a doting smile spread across his face. "What's so happy about?" I asked him. The tenderness in his eyes hadn't fully receded when he looked up at me. He chuckled. "Ed, just a video of a cute little cat. If you like it, we can get one after the baby is born." I mumbled, "Oh." Suddenly, I asked him, "The weather's nice tonight. Can you take me to see the sea?" Marcus froze, instinctively refusing. I still have some company matters to handle. Yet, he had just returned from a business trip. I lowered my gaze and opened my social media. Among the people I followed, a blogger with a cat as her profile picture had posted a new update: romantic preview. "Going to chase the blue tears with him tonight." Marcus still drove me home. He didn't know that as soon as he left, I followed him. Willow was a moderately popular relationship blogger. Her profile picture was of the little cat she and Marcus shared. It was thanks to Willow's profile picture that I discovered Marcus's infidelity. It started when he was on a business trip, and I made a video call. Marcus, who generally disliked pets, suddenly had a fluffy golden cat appear behind him. It was adorable. The only thing was, this golden cat had a relatively short tail, as if it had been injured. This made the cat very distinctive. "Marcus, where did that little cat come from?" "A colleague's pet," he had casually replied. My casual question and his casual answer led me to discover his affair. After that day, I accidentally stumbled upon a video of this little cat. The blogger who posted it was named Willow, and her profile picture was this cat, so she must have been the owner. Marcus's colleague? I clicked into her profile, wanting to see more videos of the cat, but the more I looked, the more alarmed I became. Marcus's figure constantly appeared in her posts. At first, it was just a corner of his clothing, a watch. Slowly, his back appeared, then photos of them holding hands on a special romantic occasion. Later, there were even photos of them kissing in bed. Scrolling further down, I reached the earliest post, dated 7 years ago. The in the photo had just married me and had just taken over Hayes, radiating ambition and vitality. He had given a speech at the university as a successful businessman, and Willow was the person who received him. The caption read, "Working hard to get closer to Mr. Marcus." And after that, it was the daily life of a female college student bravely pursuing her idol. I finally understood where Marcus had been all those years, absent on holidays and anniversaries. I also learned about the progression of their relationship. 2 months ago, they had broken up. Willow had posted a month's worth of heartbroken diary entries. Finally, one day, she was no longer sad and announced her upcoming marriage. The wedding date was yesterday. Her pinned post on her profile was an update from early yesterday morning. It showed 2 hands clasped tightly, with matching rings on their middle fingers. "For the rest of our lives, we will never be apart again." Just now, a new update had appeared: "The blue tears did not fail us, like the milky, you two have found your way. Happy reunion." I watched their embracing backs from a distance for a long time. So long that they finally left hand in hand, and I walked home with a self-deprecating smile. The house felt cold. This was Marcus and my marital home, but for years, I had lived in it alone. It was nearly midnight when I finished packing my hospital bag for tomorrow. Marcus still hadn't returned. An hour earlier, he had sent a text message saying he wouldn't be back. Before I was pregnant, he often didn't come home overnight. But for the 2 months since he and Willow broke up, he had stayed with me every night unless he was on a business trip. People are just like that. Once you get used to someone's kindness, you can no longer tolerate the old coldness. "Marcus, why did you give me hope, only to disappoint me?" I took out the ultrasound report and gently stroked the tiny figure on it. Tears streamed down my face. 3 months. She already had tiny hands and feet. "Child, it's not that. Mommy doesn't want you. If I let you be born, but you couldn't receive a father's complete love, your childhood wouldn't be happy. I picked up my suitcase and left. Before I went, I left him a note. He would see it as soon as he came home. Gone to stay with Melanie for a few days, don't disturb. The car started, driving further and further away from Marcus and my marital home. I couldn't help but wonder if Marcus knew that tonight was his last chance to save this child, to save me. Would he regret it? The next time we met, it would probably be for the divorce. The next morning, I went to the hospital. While completing the admission procedures, I happened to run into Dr. Evans, who had been helping me with my body's regulation for years for pregnancy preparation. She smiled and said to me, "Congratulations. After all these years of trying to conceive, all those injections, all that medicine, you've finally gotten your wish. Your husband must be overjoyed. Are you 3 months along?" she asked, glancing at my belly, her face filled with genuine joy. I instinctively touched my still flat abdomen and gave a strained smile. "Yes, 3 months." Dr. Evans's smile deepened. 3 months means it's stable. At that moment, she noticed the hospital admission form in my hand and frowned. "Why are you being admitted? Are you feeling unwell? Do you need my help?" Looking at her concerned face, my nose suddenly stung. Holding back the tears that threatened to fall, I shook my head. "Dr. Evans, actually, I'm here for an abortion." Dr. Evans's brows furrowed. "Why an abortion, out of the blue? Is there something wrong with the baby's development?" "No, it's for my own reasons." Dr. Evans sighed, her face showing pity. "Grace, this baby wasn't easy to conceive. You've been coming to me for fertility treatments for about 7 years, haven't you? I still remember the first time I saw you. You were holding your husband's hand, begging me to help you have a child. You also know this might be your only chance to get pregnant. Does your husband know you don't want this baby?" I shook my head faintly. Dr. Evans's understanding expression told me she understood. She patted my shoulder, her face full of affection. "Child, if your parents knew you were this heartbroken and sad, how much would their hearts ache? If ordinary parents knew their daughter was enduring such pain, they would surely tear that man to shreds. But I had no parents. Marcus was the only family I had in this world. He was the one who gave warmth to me, 18 years old and orphaned, and then, at 21, he gave me a home. These past years, he had been busy with his career and increasingly neglected me. I didn't blame him. I always thought that if we had a child, would his heart finally settle down? Would that cold house finally feel like a home?" The truth was, I had guessed right. I would never forget his ecstatic joy when I told him I was pregnant. He had picked me up and spun me around again and again. He had said, "Grace, honey, I've never been so happy. I'm going to be a father." I also wouldn't forget the joy in my heart when I found out he had broken things off with his mistress for the sake of the baby, for our family. Wrong, I was wrong. I was wrong from the beginning. Infidelity is never a one-time thing. It's either 0 times or countless times, never forgivable. The moment Marcus secretly kept another woman, our future was gone. How could I not know how difficult it was to have this child? Endless injections, endless medicines, endless checkups, endless hospital visits. Aunt's parents' countless scornful glances. But I couldn't entangle myself with the wrong person for the rest of my life just to have this child. I needed to be myself first, before I could be anything else. I had initially thought Marcus would quickly realize I wasn't home. But I was wrong. I had been in the hospital for 3 days, and he hadn't called once. This meant he hadn't returned home in 3 days, and therefore hadn't seen the note I left him. Willow was back, and he had reverted to being the cold Mr. Marcus. "Bed 12, here's today's medicine." I took the 3 small white pills from the nurse and quietly swallowed them. This medication, my misoprostol, could easily take my baby's life. The nurse said I should walk around after taking the medicine. So I strolled around the hospital, quietly waiting for the medication to take effect. As I walked towards the outpatient clinic, I suddenly saw 2 familiar figures in the distance. My husband, whom I hadn't seen in 3 days, was accompanying another woman to a doctor's appointment. Willow's pretty face was full of grievance. "Marcus, I don't know why this pain is happening, it's because you were too intense. Don't blame me, okay?" Marcus pinched his brow, looking somewhat impatient. "Willow, you've gone a bit too far this time. You know full well, my wife." He hadn't even finished his sentence when Willow's tears began to stream down. She threw herself into Marcus's arms, her voice trembling. "Marcus, don't leave me. I'm just scared you'll leave me again." Marcus sighed and put his arm around her waist. His eyes softened, and he said gently, "As long as you don't provoke Grace, I won't leave you." Willow nodded obediently, but her eyes were filled with resentment. She dabbed her tears, took Marcus's hand, and swung it back and forth, her face full of anticipation. "Marcus, I want to go to Disneyland. We can't get married, but we should at least plan a honeymoon trip, right?" Marcus playfully tapped her nose, smiling indulgently. "Okay." Counting the days, tomorrow was when Marcus was supposed to accompany me to set up my prenatal care card. I gave a self-deprecating smile. I had thought I no longer cared about him, but seeing this scene, my heart still ached. Even my belly began to hurt faintly. I gradually realized the medication might be taking effect, and I sat down on a chair, clutching my stomach. A wave of pain swept over me, making me tremble and break out in a cold sweat. When the pain finally subsided and I looked up, I saw Willow standing in front of me, her face beaming. "My boyfriend went to get the car. Is it okay if I sit here?" She sat down beside me without waiting for an answer, tilting her head and smiling as she said, "Nice to meet you. Let me introduce myself. I'm Willow, Marcus's girlfriend." She emphasized the word girlfriend heavily. "Marcus and I have been together for 7 years. You must know that, right? You should also know that Marcus has spent all the Valentine's days, a special romantic occasion, and New Year's with me throughout these years." She laughed sweetly, her beautiful eyes gleaming with ambition. "You're truly patient. If I were you, I would have stepped aside long ago." I turned my head to look at her, enduring the intensifying pain in my abdomen, and said coldly, "Are you finished? If so, please leave. This is a hospital." "Why should I leave?" Willow retorted, her voice rising. Hearing this, I suddenly raised an eyebrow and smiled. "You're telling me all this simply because you have no chance of marrying Marcus. As long as we don't divorce, you'll be his mistress." Willow jumped to her feet, lifting her chin and looking down at me indignantly. She stomped her foot, furious. "You're just banking on that baby, but if you weren't pregnant, he wouldn't even look at you. I'll tell you the truth, I'm already trying to conceive. Once I get pregnant, Marcus will definitely divorce you." Whether had a child with her or divorced me no longer mattered, because the pain in my lower abdomen was becoming unbearable. My vision blurred in waves, and I couldn't hear anything else Willow was saying. Another wave of excruciating pain came, accompanied by a gush of warm fluid from below. I finally couldn't hold on any longer, my body went limp, and I collapsed from the chair. I used my last ounce of strength to grab Willow, begging her to call a doctor for me. But she was already terrified by the scene before her. She kept muttering, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me," and she ran off without looking back. I fell into a coma. In a hazy state, countless people in white and green scrubs surrounded me. Many unfamiliar, panicked voices echoed in my ears. "So much blood. Why is she bleeding so much? Quick, quick. Call Evans. Tell her we have a patient with a major hemorrhage who needs emergency resuscitation." Soon, I heard Dr. Evans's voice. She held my hand, and she, usually so calm, anxiously called my name, "Grace. Can you hear me?" I desperately wanted to open my eyes, but my eyelids felt heavy and not my own. I also wanted to lift my hand, to tell her I could hear, but my hand wouldn't move. Dr. Evans's voice rang out again, "Get her to the operating room, fast. Good girl, don't fall asleep. You have to hold on. I will save you." As the medical staff moved me to the operating table, blood was still gushing out. A long time passed, or maybe only a few minutes. I heard the beeping alarm of a machine, accompanied by the anesthesiologist's startled gasp. In the end, I didn't know if Marcus's phone had been reached. My strength drained away little by little. My body was no longer my own. Before I completely lost consciousness, I thought I heard Marcus's frantic, helpless voice, almost hoarse, calling my name. Grace. Endless darkness enveloped me, my eyelids so heavy. I heard the beeping of the machine, and Marcus's voice. He was angry, loudly reprimanding someone. Why did she have an abortion? Without our consent, who gave you the guts to abort my wife's baby? The way he loudly reprimanded them. Anyone who heard him would say he was truly a good husband who cared for his wife. But all the doctors present had participated in the emergency resuscitation. An indignant doctor retorted, "Mr. Marcus, please calm down. We would never give her abortion medication without the patient's own signature." Marcus burst out laughing, as if he had heard a joke. "This is the child we've been waiting for 7 years. How could she not want it?" Next, I heard the doctor show him something. It must have been the abortion consent form I had signed. Marcus briefly glanced at it, and seeing that my name was indeed on it, he suddenly became enraged. He furiously tore the consent form into shreds. In a fit of anger, he grabbed the doctor's collar and cursed, "You forged this, didn't you?" I couldn't bear to listen anymore. I wanted so badly to wake up and tell him it wasn't the doctor's fault. It was I who didn't want our baby anymore. But no matter what, I couldn't open my eyes. I could only hear his fists, punching the doctor again and again. Until another familiar voice rang out, "Marcus, stop. If you don't stop, I'm calling the police." The moment that voice rang out, 2 tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. It was Melanie, my best friend. Melanie stepped forward and pulled away the out-of-control Marcus, kicking him hard. "Because she already knew you were cheating. You deceived her so terribly. If you don't love her, if you don't care about her, why didn't you let her go earlier?" Marcus stumbled, his last shred of hope extinguished. Melanie, still not appeased, kicked him again and said coldly, "Marcus, if I had arrived a moment later today, Grace would have died." Marcus's pupils suddenly constricted, and he fell silent. The room was quiet, save for the beeping of the heart monitor and my faint, hoarse voice, "You were with Willow." Seeing me wake up, Marcus and Melanie both rushed to my side. They spoke at the same time. "Honey, you're awake? Grace, how are you feeling?" I automatically ignored Marcus and turned my gaze to Melanie. "Why did you come back to the country?" The night before I was admitted to the hospital, my heart was extremely troubled. After much thought, only Melanie was someone I could confide in. I never expected this good girl to rush back from Japan for me, and then to save me. Melanie's face was still pale from donating blood. Her eyes welled with tears as she held my hand, her face filled with heartache. "Grace, I was so scared. I almost lost you, my very best friend." I tightly held her hand too, saying softly, "Don't cry. I'm fine now. We'll be best friends forever." After comforting Melanie, I turned my gaze to Marcus, who had been standing behind her. "Marcus." I called his name. He quickly pushed Melanie aside and rushed to my bedside, his eyes filled with deep affection and concern. "Honey, I was wrong, I know I was wrong." I interrupted him, my throat tight. "Marcus, don't call me honey. It's disgusting." "What?" Marcus froze. "I said you're disgusting." With that, I gazed steadily at him, watching Marcus's despair, watching that faint glimmer of hope in his eyes shatter. Perhaps because he was going to Disneyland, the happiest place in the world, with the girl he liked, Marcus today was dressed in a light pink suit, making him appear tall and elegant, unmatched in his refined charm. From 18 to 28, time had left no trace on his face. He was still as dazzling, even more mature and composed now. And me? For 10 years, my heart had been tied to him, my moods changing with his. I was constantly worried, losing myself. I didn't want to live like that anymore. I took out the divorce papers I had already prepared from my bag and handed them to him. "Marcus, let's get a divorce." Marcus's body swayed violently, almost unable to stand. His eyes suddenly reddened, and he whimpered, "Grace, you're giving up on the baby, and on me too?" I closed my eyes and said softly, "Marcus, it's been 7 years. I should have given up on you long ago. If I had known you were cheating earlier, I definitely wouldn't have waited until now to decide on a divorce. Did you think you hid it well? Delusional enough to think you could be playing the field while maintaining a facade of a perfect family life? Let me tell you, Willow had posted every little detail of her time with you online. These past few days, if you had come home, you would have seen the note I left you, and you would have known I wasn't home. Perhaps you could have even saved this baby." Marcus trembled all over, shaking his head repeatedly. He clutched the thin divorce papers, his eyes filled with regret. He cried hoarsely, like a child who had made a mistake, repeating only 2 phrases over and over, forgive me, Grace, I won't divorce you." I shook my head, refusing decisively. "No, I don't deserve it. Do you know? Even though I already knew you were cheating, when I found out you had returned to the family for the sake of our baby, how happy I was." I was truly exhausted from saying so much. My patience was completely gone. "Look at the property division terms. If there are no issues, just sign the divorce agreement." However, Marcus suddenly went berserk, fiercely tearing the divorce papers to shreds. He hugged me tightly, almost crazily. "I won't let you leave me." I frowned, about to speak, but Melanie interrupted me. "Marcus, don't you understand? Grace said she doesn't want to see you. Marcus's eyes narrowed, and he was about to retort, but he froze at the sound of entertainment gossip coming from the TV behind him. Hayes CEO's relationship. It seemed Willow couldn't wait, she was desperate to make their relationship official. I smiled faintly. It seems you don't have time for me, Mr. Marcus. Oh, and the last person I saw before I hemorrhaged was Willow. I later learned Marcus had found Willow at the house by the sea. As soon as he'd stepped inside, she had embraced him from behind. Marcus, you're finally back, she'd apparently said. Do you know how panicked I was when you left me alone? This time, he hadn't returned her embrace. Instead, he'd pushed her away and looked out the window. Beyond the window, the sea stretched endlessly. I knew he remembered this house, purchased 5 years ago when real estate prices were at their peak. After he bought it, he gave it to Willow to live in, and it later became their love nest for years. He couldn't quite recall why he had bought that house in the first place. I later understood. I knew he didn't like the seaside, it was too humid, and the salty air bothered him. The sound of waves crashing against the rocks during high tide was too loud, and being a light sleeper, it would disturb his rest. But I had the impression someone else liked it. She liked to hear the sound of the waves, as if it took her back to her childhood. When she was little, her home was by the sea. Her parents would return from fishing and hold her on the seawall, watching the tides rise and fall, the clouds roll in and out. She had told him she wanted to make their home by the sea. In her old seaside home, she had her parents. In her new seaside home, she would have the person she loved most. She seemed to have never lost love, she was always surrounded by it. There weren't many houses that met her requirements, and at that time, real estate prices were high. He had just taken over Hayes, and his funds were tight. He had searched for 2 years before finding this one. The owners of this house were an elderly couple. The house wasn't big, but it was filled with flowers. When they sold the house, the old couple had just celebrated their golden wedding anniversary and were about to emigrate to their son's side. This house had witnessed their happiness, and they hoped to pass that happiness on to the next owners. There were many potential buyers, but Marcus had secured the right to buy it with the simple phrase, "My wife likes the sea." He had remembered. Grace. It was Grace who liked the sea. But why hadn't he given her the house to live in, instead letting another woman usurp it? Was it because the other woman gave him a thrill? He knew perfectly well that Willow's marriage to someone else was fake. But he had been consumed by jealousy, utterly distraught, crashing the wedding to take her back. Was he afraid of losing Willow? No, he was afraid of losing the thrill of their illicit affair. A bitter taste filled his lips, and Marcus suddenly went crazy, running into the garden. The garden was desolate. In the bright summer, not a single flower bloomed. Where are the flowers? Where are the flowers here? He gripped Willow's jaw, asking viciously. Willow's face changed dramatically, her beautiful eyes wide with terror. She struggled to pry his hand away, gasping for air. The flowers. Cough, cough. The flowers are long gone. Marcus's hand suddenly loosened. A flood of regret surged into his heart, making him uncontrollable, inescapable. He fell to his knees, clutching the bare soil, whispering, "Gone, it's all gone." The flowers were gone. He hadn't taken care of the flowers the old couple left behind. Nor had he let the person who truly loved them live there. So, the happiness of the golden wedding anniversary hadn't been passed on to him. Grace didn't want him anymore. He had no home. Marcus felt like a bastard. He had betrayed Grace's sincere heart and wasted 10 years of her youth. He had always known how hard Grace worked to have their child. Right after they got married, Grace went to the doctor almost every week, and each time she returned from the hospital, she would bring a large bag of medicine. She would also hold him to fixed schedules for conceiving. Once or twice, he was willing to cooperate. But as the frequency increased, intimate contact that felt like a chore became bland. He didn't like it. And just then, Willow appeared. She was bold and passionate, and possessed the innocence of a student, firmly captivating him. He quickly fell for her. The first time he checked into a hotel with Willow, he had a fleeting moment of panic. But he reassured himself, it was just once, Grace wouldn't know. And even if Grace knew, so what? She loved him so much, she would surely forgive him. He just never expected his infidelity to last for 7 long years. He also never expected Willow to post everything about him online. If he, Marcus, was a bastard, then Willow was the demon who lured him into the abyss. Thinking of this, Marcus suddenly lashed out, violently slapping Willow several times. It's all you. It's all your fault. I lost my child, lost my wife. Slapping her wasn't enough to appease his anger. Marcus began to punch and kick Willow. Why did you put me online? Why did you provoke Grace? When hemorrhaged, why didn't you quickly call a doctor? Do you know you almost killed her? With each punch and kick, Marcus struck with extreme force, as if blaming Willow for everything. Soon, Willow was barely conscious. She wiped the blood from the corner of her lips and let out a choked laugh. If you had a strong will, why would you cheat? Marcus, it's too late for you to regret it now. Marcus kicked Willow hard again, cursing, bitch. Willow's eyes rolled back, and she spat out a mouthful of blood. Marcus still wasn't done with her. He pulled her up, intending to drag her into the car. Go apologize to Grace. If she doesn't forgive you, I won't let you off either. But ultimately couldn't take Willow to the hospital. Their loud argument had already alarmed the neighbors and beach tourists. Seeing the blood, the crowd quickly called the police and dialed 911. By the time Marcus dragged Willow out of the yard, the police had surrounded him. Someone reported you for assault. Come with us. It was also thanks to Willow for tipping off the paparazzi. The crowd actually recognized the two fighting individuals as the headline figures from today's entertainment gossip. Hearing the crowd's discussions, Marcus's eyes turned red, and he ignored the police present, trying to hit Willow again. But he was firmly restrained by the police. Calm down. Marcus's infidelity and assault of his mistress became the headline at day. The commotion and the trending topic brought Hayes great shame. The next day, stock prices plummeted, and within just 1 week, the market value evaporated by $50 billion. The injury assessment for his assault on Willow also came out. Marcus had severely injured her, causing a ruptured spleen, which constituted a criminal offense. He was facing sentencing. Marcus's parents, who had always regarded their only son as their lifeblood, ran around desperately to bail him out. They even tried to find me, their despised daughter-in-law, to help Marcus obtain Willow's forgiveness. But unfortunately, by the time they arrived at Marcus and my marital home, I had already moved out. Without letter of understanding, Marcus was sentenced a month later. He was convicted of intentional assault causing grievous bodily harm and sentenced to 7 years in prison. When the news came, I had already recovered and decided to embark on a round-the-world trip with my best friend Melanie. I was going to make up for all the years I had been bound by marriage. Before leaving the city, I went to visit him in prison. I handed the divorce papers through the partition window. This time, Marcus didn't hesitate. His hand, cuffed, grasped the pen and signed his name on the divorce papers. Hayes went bankrupt and was liquidated. The assets are split equally. I don't want anything extra from you. You can reflect deeply in prison. 7 years. How many 7 years does one get in a lifetime? I offered a relieved smile, then turned and walked away. From behind me, Marcus's voice echoed, Grace, if I hadn't cheated, would our ending have been different? I'm sorry. That day you said you wanted to see the ocean, and I didn't go with you. When you needed me because of the profuse bleeding, I wasn't there either. I've already donated blood in prison. My blood didn't get the chance to save you, but if it can save others, I can feel a bit more at peace. Grace, I love you. That last sentence, Marcus spoke with difficulty, filled with endless regret. I didn't look back. And I wouldn't. My future was bright and promising, never again to be constrained by anyone or anything. The world outside the prison walls was so vibrant. The last rays of the setting sun fell on my face. I closed my eyes, feeling the lingering warmth of the September sun. Everything from the past slowly faded. The next moment I opened my eyes, Melanie was standing by the road with 2 suitcases, smiling sweetly at me. Grace, time to catch our flight. I nodded emphatically. Taking one of the suitcases, I got into the taxi with her. I was ready to embrace my brand new life.